A very good afternoon to all of you. I'm Nandini, the moderator for today's webinar. First up, I have some very positive news to share with all of you. With the Ministry of Home Affairs' recent guidelines allowing the resumption of sporting activities across India from 21st September, officials from Hockey India have been in touch with 31 state member units to guide them through the process of resumption of their state and district level training programs as a proactive measure to help ease the process of returning to the sport. The state member units are being encouraged to resume activities while keeping in mind the guidelines and protocols of the Government of India and their respective state governments. As early as April this year, Hockey India issued the standard operating procedures to its state member units, which are to be followed when hockey activities resume in their respective states. This 20-page dossier available on the Hockey India website includes educating the athletes. It covers the basic do's and don'ts when they resume activities. It also provides guidelines and protocols that must be followed by event organizers when they host tournaments at the local level. As a result of these SOPs being laid out very early on, the resumption has been fast-tracked once permissions came through from the MHA earlier this month. I'm very happy to share with you all that children and young players from remote parts of India, including districts like Baramulla, Poonch, Srinagar in J&K, as well as many other states, have been able to return to the playing field. I think this is a very positive news in these trying times. In view of this positive development, Hockey India is holding this webinar today, where the chief coaches and players from the Indian men and women's hockey teams will share their views on the best practices to follow when the athletes return to the pitch. I'm very delighted to welcome our panelists for this discussion today. Indian men's hockey team chief coach Graham Reid. Thanks,
Hi,
Graham.
everybody.
Hi. I also welcome Shuad Marine, the chief coach of the Indian women's hockey team.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Shuad. I also welcome the very experienced and perhaps one of the most talkative goalkeepers in the world, PR Srijesh.
Hi.
We're also joined by our very reliable women's custodian, Savita.
Hi, Dee.
Thanks, guys. Thanks a lot for joining us for this discussion today. I would also like to welcome the representatives from Hockey India member units for whom we are hosting this webinar today. I also welcome the media who've been absolutely supportive towards Indian hockey all these years. Thanks everyone for joining, and I hope all of you are doing well and are in good health. I think first up we'll begin with Graham. Graham, if you can take us through these last 5 weeks since you've started basic activities in Sai, Bengaluru. Can you tell us how you plan sessions for the players, keeping in mind the guidelines provided by Hockey India and Sai?
Yeah, well, thanks for having us. Welcome, everybody. I must admit, these last 5 weeks, I think everybody has been looking forward to getting back out onto the pitch again, as I'm sure all of you are. I think early on, it is quite difficult. There are lots of things that are very unfamiliar to us. For example, wearing our mask everywhere. I still sometimes go out the door and think, my mask, you know, it is something that we're all still trying to get used to, and that's completely normal. But things like sanitizing your hands before every session, and so we Sai, but also I think Shord, we as in Hockey India and us within here, the coaches started on working on the standard operating procedure for coming back to training back in March originally, but I think by April, I think Hockey India was able to put together a document which I think was very valuable in allowing us to sort of take that path back to sporting activities. One of the things that I think was in these last 5 weeks, You know, obviously been using that. SI have also got procedures which are quite easy to follow, and you know, involving small groups, all those sort of things. And most of it is common sense, and the players very quickly get used to it. I sort of briefed my players when we first got out of quarantine on what I called it about maintaining the bubble, which sort of, you know, getting them to understand that we are living in a bubble inside SI, but that means we still have to do all the social distancing. We wear a mask everywhere. No one's allowed to go outside the campus. Reminding them about things like that every action and every decision that we make takes us either closer to our goals or one step further away. So so every decision that you make has to be towards where, you know, getting towards your goal, and that for us is obviously very simple, but for everybody, I think it's a safe return to play, or to at least getting out into the sporting activities.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'd like to hear from you, Sean. You've been very optimistic all these while to start activities, you know. So can you tell us, as a coach, how you had to mentally prepare yourself as well as your team before you started these activities?
Yeah, it's when you're a club coach, you're always looking forward when the competition starts and when the preparation starts. And the mistake many coaches are making, they are so full of energy and they really want to perform with their team and they want to prepare them well. And they have high expectations and they start really fast with activities, and then you can get injuries. I think one of the most important things for me was to manage my own expectations, but also to manage the expectations of the players. Yeah, you will not come immediately back on your old level. That takes time. Yeah, but also as a coach, I know they will not play in the beginning the way I wanted, because it was a long time ago. We could do our normal training activities. So I think that was for me one of the most important things. And when you manage your own expectations, you can easier deal with the circumstances the way they are and accept the way the things they are. And I think, yeah, when you give yourself time, your players time, and when they don't trap a ball, for instance, it takes time. And sometimes it takes longer than you want, but give them that time. And I think that was one of the most important things for me, and I think also for the team.
Right. So don't rush into anything too soon. I think that's the message you were trying to.
Indeed. Yeah, because things are going really, you really have to have patience.
Shri, I know you want to talk, but as a player, Shrijesh, you know, tell us how easy or difficult it is to adapt to these new changes, you know, wearing a mask when you go to have your lunch, dinner, breakfast. It must be very new for you guys.
See, that situation was really tough, because we were a free bird till the time this COVID came up, and suddenly one day you put us in a cage and asking us to follow certain rules, which is not at all used to for us. And definitely when you look at the starting stage, we were in the top, we were performing really well. Pro League was really fantastic for us. We were like doing really better those times, and suddenly everything stopped. The international level of hockey stops, and we just, out of international hockey from almost 6 to 7 months now. And that was the toughest period for us to adjust with this scenario, because you can't go out. Everything is stopped. You have to stay inside this campus center. You need to, you need to do everything with a conscious mind. You cannot mingle with any outsiders, and that was the tough period. But once we get used to with that, we knew that, okay, you need to adjust in these circumstances, and then you need to perform. And once we got a small break in between, and when we came back here, that's the time I think everyone was mentally prepared to adjust with this atmosphere and in these circumstances. And if you know that first 14 days quarantine, I think everyone enjoyed it in Bangalore, and the atmosphere here, the way Sai Bangalore kept us really, in a well manner, so that at least we never miss out anything. Once if you, as coach said before, now it's everything become like a routine for us. Wake up, grab your mask first. When you go out, before the training, use sanitizer. After the training, use sanitizer. Don't talk to strangers without mask. Keep the social distance. Even still, or dining hall, keep in the same way that, okay, we do follow the rules and regulations. So I think now every players, definitely they are mature enough to understand the situation. But now COVID is become like an life routine for us. So we knew that what we should do to keep ourselves fit, keep our teammate fit. Definitely through that our team, ultimately our team get fit.
Yeah, great, absolutely. Savi, you've been playing hockey for so long. इतने सालों से आप हॉकी खेल रहे हैं और जैसे श्री बता रहे थे कि ये मुश्किल समय है हर प्लेयर के लिए, तो how are you dealing with it? And also आपके टीम में बहुत सारे यंगस्टर्स हैं, तो एज अ सीनियर प्लेयर आप उनको कैसे गाइड करते हैं और उनको कैसे अवेयरनेस देते हैं कि ये गाइडलाइंस आपको फॉलो करना है, हर दिन करना है?
Yeah, yes, like that's true. Like we never faced earlier, and the scenario is this time is different now. And but अच्छी बात थी कि Hockey India always support us, and that time also they came up with the SOP and Sai also, and उससे हमें काफी मदद मिला. And then we had few meetings with the coaching staff, and they also said like we cannot handle the scenario is different, so we have to understand the situation, and we have to follow all the guidelines. And same like I can say always, like our coaching staff, they support us and they motivate us, and that time during lockdown time also they did. And then we also said to our junior girls, like we have to follow all the guidelines, because we know like we are staying in safe environment, but still we have to more take care of ourselves, and we have to follow, and we did.
Yeah, I'm very glad all of you are healthy and focusing on your fitness. I think coming back to Graham, you were faced with a very unique situation early on when some of your players tested positive for coronavirus when they returned to the camp. Now, this scenario is something that could happen to any coach at any level. It could be at the district level, at the state level. Any player could probably test positive. So how did you as a coach handle this situation, and what are the precautions as a coach you have to take if a trainee tests positive?
Yeah, it's a good question, because I think it's new territory for all of us, and obviously when our players came back, because we had been following the protocols from the SOP, the guys were already in quarantine, which made it a lot easier. So they were already separated. So I wasn't too worried, to be honest, about them spreading it further within the group because of the quarantine. So then really it was just a matter of following the steps that had sort of been laid out. They were monitored 24 hours a day, those sort of things. And then, but it's the return to play that is the difficult part. And that's where, again, there is a standard operating procedure, which when we were lucky enough, or we are lucky enough here, that two of our guys, Robin Narkel and Wayne Lombard, have been involved with creating that standard operating procedure. So they have first-hand knowledge of it. But it's a pretty inclusive document. It's good steps to follow. It's exactly what Short, to be honest, was talking about, them being being patient. I think part of it is making sure that the athletes understand that it's quite a serious, or can be a serious disease. The tough part for young people is that they are often asymptomatic, and that was pretty much the case with all of our guys. I think a couple had a bit of a fever. One lost their taste and smell. Actually, probably, it turns out, luckily enough, because that was the only symptom that really sort of stood out. So it's very easy to think, oh, it'll be okay, we're all fine, and what have you. But I think what I was really pleased about is that when you follow the SOP, the first thing they have to do before they come back is to have a raft of tests regarding their lungs, their heart, just to make sure that they start at that base level, that everything's okay. And as I said, because they're asymptomatic, it makes it a little easier, that there was no damage. And so we were able just to progress them through. Bringing them back into training, to be honest, is just like you have injuries. You know, coaches are already going to be running parallel programs for people who are injured. It just means that with the COVID boys, it was a little larger group perhaps than what you would normally have with your injuries. So all our coaches, all our support staff are used to running a rehab type program for these athletes, and they slowly, they start off like this, and then they slowly catch up as they go, and now they're fully integrated into what we are doing. So yeah, I think to re-mention what Shaw said again, it's about getting your players to understand they have to be patient. That was probably the toughest part, Shri, getting them, wasn't it? Getting them to sort of, okay, just slow down, boys. They of course want to race in and go full pelt. And again, for us, we were using really the health of the players as being the motivating factor in the speed in which you bring them back.
Yeah. So the good news is all these players have joined the regular group from last year, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So that's a real positive, and it's good to show that the reason these SOPs are written and are followed is because they work.
Fantastic. That's really good news, Coach. Sure, I think one of the debates that's been around is, although you may not be in competition for the next 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, we are not sure about that, but did we need to have the camp right now? I think that's been a question on many people's minds. So, can you give your opinion about this?
Yes, absolutely. Like Michael Phelps, I hope everybody knows him, but Michael Phelps is, of course, really a guy who won a lot of medals. And one of the things, he's working every day in the year. Yeah, it's not like the Olympics are in 4 years. So he starts working 1 year before. It's the same with us. We need we need all the time. Coming back to the level we were, like 4 months, because it takes time. You go really fast to a certain level, but also it breaks down really fast. And that's why, especially when you're in lockdown, you can't move so much. Playing hockey is completely different than doing exercises on your room. It is a contact sport. So that's why it takes time to come back to that level, and to build the fitness you had on the pitch. So that's why it's extremely important. If you see other countries, like I can speak about Netherlands, they are already playing competition every week. Pro League has been played. Yeah, so these countries also go on. And you can imagine if we don't do these kind of things, like going back to training activities, we're getting further and further behind those countries. And that's what you don't want. So that's why it's extremely important that we have started.
Great. So you're saying the momentum will increase very slowly for the players now?
Yes, absolutely. Like what you're doing, sporting activities with distance, and slowly you're going back to training activities. That's all step by step. And what I said before, you have to have patience. You can't go playing directly 1 versus 1, 2 versus 2. It has a really impact on the body. And these things, it takes time. And the smaller matches you want to play, the bigger, the more effort it will cost. So that's why you need this time to come without injuries. And that is the most important thing, that you come without injuries back to your old level. Yeah, and that's something what you want to do. If you see nowadays in the Bundesliga, in the Premier League, a lot of hamstring injuries. I know the NFL has 36 hamstring injuries in 2 weeks. They have 6 ACLs. So you can imagine, and it's another sport, I understand that, but we must be careful, because if you start too fast or you're doing too much in a short time, maybe you build on a condition on a short time, but the risk you have an injury and someone is out for 6 months, you don't want to take that risk. And that's why I'm really happy with the time we're getting now.
Great. I think that's a very good advice to coaches and players at the domestic level as well. Take it slow and avoid injuries. I think that is something everyone needs to pay attention to.
Yeah, if I can add, don't underestimate these last months. I think that is a really important thing. And I know the body can do a lot, but don't underestimate the impact of hockey and going back to full training.
Great, fantastic. Shri, if I can bring you back into this conversation, we're all aware that the men's team have a very active social life here in Bangalore. You guys love going out on the weekends, take your mind off hockey a little bit, because your training gets so intense during normal times. But I think these are very, very strange times for you guys as well. You're living in a biosecure environment. How are you guys dealing with, how are you coping with this new scenario? What are you doing to take your mind off hockey when you're not having any session?
Say, that's a tough, as I said before, we were free birds and now we came into a cage, but that is how we need to adjust with the current situation. As you mentioned, Nandini, we used to go out for a free, for an evening, for a coffee or a movie or shopping, something. At least we can get out from this atmosphere and meet new people, some other conversation. So once we are getting back into the Sundays or into the training session, we'll be really fresh. But now, as a shorter coach has mentioned, we started in a really slow way that at least now we are focusing on our basics. So that the training is not really hard like before. We are taking the baby steps now. So at least the players are focusing on their previous injuries, or they are focusing more into their basics where they're lacked. And during that lockdown, we done our homeworks where we look after our matches, where we need to improve what all mistakes we committed. So we are utilizing this time productively for our future. And when you look at the other way, okay, what things keeping us busy is like, okay, definitely people, let's say impressive thing, like people started to read a lot. So we do have a very small library in our meeting room. And other says that PS4, there is a competition happen in the video game. So there are a couple of them are really much into PS4. They play. Yeah, they that PUBG is one of the things players are more addictive into. But positively, when you take it, okay, they are creatively doing something. In the evenings, they go for some foam rolling or some sort of exercise where they are looking forward for. And even Robin is helping us to to analyze yourself and to check where you need to do, what you need to improve, and what all exercise you need to do separately than the team. So we are utilizing this period, creatively, and simultaneously we are trying to enjoy this time to keep ourselves positively motivated towards hockey and the coming up hockey, international tournaments.
Tell us about the team bonding, Shri. I think you guys have said in the past that this has brought you guys closer as a unit.
Seriously, because before and all, in the Saturdays after the morning sessions we may meet for the dinner, the Sunday night dinner. So there is a huge gap. But nowadays it's in a close venue, right? You can't go out. You don't have access to any other places. You are not meeting any other people. So and once after using mobile for such a long period, you get bored with that. So now I believe that everyone started to talk a lot. They sit together with a coffee, or they sit, after the lunch or dinner, they sit there for after, 10 or 15 minutes. They talk something new. Rather than hockey, we do have topics now. It's all about maybe world economy, or it's about COVID progress, or it's about Pro League matches, or maybe nowadays it's all about IPL. So when we talk, when we communicate, except hockey or something new, that's always engaging everyone to put their own ideas, their own suggestions, and a couple of prank kind of things, which are all helping us to motivate each other and carrying each other towards the purpose. The ultimate purpose is 2021 Olympics games. So whenever the topic starts with some comic things, some funny things, but it's always end up in the serious note, like, okay, it's all about Olympics.
Yes, absolutely. It's all about the Olympics. And the next question is for Savita, but Shri, even you can answer this after she gives her opinion. As a professional athlete, इतने महीनों का ट्रेनिंग नहीं था आपके लिए, कुछ प्रैक्टिस नहीं था, तो क्या setbacks रहता है clear के लिए, you know, when you don't train, you don't practice for 4 or 5 months, and especially as a goalkeeper, क्योंकि आपका reaction time बहुत important है, आपका reflexes are very important. So what were the things that you kept in mind or had to work on when you got back into activities?
Yes, during the lockdown time also we did continue our workout, and we did lots of workout, even we can say. And अच्छी बात थी कि हम उस टाइम पे भी साथ में थे, तो हमने काफी वर्कआउट जो भी था, कुछ एक्टिविटीज थी जो हमने हॉस्टल में भी की, स्पेशली फॉर गोलकीपर्स। और उसमें आई कांटेक्ट के लिए टेनिस बॉल के साथ हमने एक्टिविटीज की। और जब हम वापस ग्राउंड पे गए, जब फिर से खेलना स्टार्ट किया, तो कोच आल्सो सेड टू अस लाइक वी आर नॉट हरी, सो ग्रेजुअली वी विल स्टार्ट एंड वी डोंट वांट टू सी एनी इंजरी। और फिर उसके बाद में 2 वीक्स तक हमारा थोड़ा लाइट सेशन था, कि मतलब गोलकीपर्स का भी सेशन होता था अलग से उसमें, और उसमें हमने बेसिक स्किल पे फिर से ध्यान दिया। और धीरे धीरे कि लास्ट वीक भी हमारे 3 सेशन थे, और उसमें यानी कि के साथ हमारा गोलकीपर सेशन होता है, उससे पहले वेन के साथ होता है, उसमें एजिलिटी का वर्कआउट काफी हम करते हैं। और उस जो यानी कि के साथ गोलकीपर सेशन होता है, उसमें भी रिफ्लेक्सेस का और आई कांटेक्ट के लिए जो एक्सरसाइज करवाते हैं, और फुटवर्क की जो एक्सरसाइज होती है, तो वो सब हमने ड्यूरिंग लॉकडाउन भी रखा। और उसी तरह का वेन ने भी जो हमारे लिए प्रोग्राम बनाया था, उसमें भी एक्सरसाइज था कि जैसे फुटवर्क का और एथलेटिक्स का। जब उसने हमें प्रोग्राम दिया था, बट समटाइम्स वो भी कोशिश करता था कि ओके, अगर किसी भी तरह हमारी हेल्प कर सके तो वो करता था, और कंटिन्यू हमने उस चीज को रखा था।
So being together during the lockdown and having the support of the coaching staff did matter, you're saying?
Yes.
Great. Shri, do you want to add to this? You know, I know you're very conscious about your reaction time and reflexes. So how has this scenario been for you?
That's a different for me actually, because I did had a very good chat with my coach beforehand training session starts. So I went to coach and I said, coach, see, the players are really eager to get back on the field, and they will come and they will bang us. And being a goalkeeper, it's really hard for me to stand in front of the goalpost. And just, you know, as you said, after lockdown and you are away from hockey for a couple of months, and suddenly when you're getting back to the hockey field, you are not there where you left. Okay, definitely your reaction times become slow. Your reflexes won't be there. You might even, you can't even see that ball where it comes, and you don't know what to do. Sometimes you just stand like this and you get hit on your face, and that first impression or that first impact can affect me psychologically, because whenever, even after 2 months training session, that first hit which I get on my helmet can affect me psychologically throughout this period. So I asked him, just coach, in the first couple of weeks we need to keep it really simple, so that at least let us give time to get back into that normal normal way where we left us, so that at least we are psychologically there. And second thing is that when the players got a target, okay, they can just come and hit to the goalpost. But for us, we need to take care of ourselves first, because of injury. As Sean mentioned, injury is a big concern for everyone once they're coming back into the sports after this COVID thing. So that was that was one of the concern which we had. Second thing is like personal injury, because you are goalkeeper, you can get hurt anytime during the training sessions. And third thing is that you psychologically, you need to be fit to be there to face that 120 kilometers, 130 kilometers speed balls. So that 2 weeks light training helped us to get back into that normal normal way. At least I am ready to react with that tough shots. And probably that will help us. That first 2 weeks training help us to maintain our basics, basic strengths. That's what we call in goalkeeping, because that is what all important for you. If you get 150 kilometer hit, you do like this. So that is not your style. You have to face it. You have to save it. So and the way we trained, the way we started it, it's in a good manner. So I think now after 2 months, we are in a good shape now. So I think we are getting slowly we are getting into that international level, but definitely we need to have some kind of real experience to test that again.
Great, fantastic.
Nandini and even Chiri Bhaiya, same I also mentioned like we had a goalkeeper session and goalkeeper session के अंदर हमारा ज़्यादा इसीलिए ज़्यादा goalkeeper session थे कि हमने हमारे basic skill पे काम किया था. हमें भी वो चीज़ का हमारे कोच ने भी हमें already वही चीज़ बोला था कि starting के 2-3 months we have no competition is there, so we gradually we will start, and that's why we are we want that more goalkeeper session because of we want to come in rhythm. That's why like I agree with you also like you said but हमें भी
आप लोग का अलग से गोलकीपर सेशन हो रहा था ना
वो हाँ गोलकीपर सेशन हम खुद ने वो चीज था कि हमें रिदम में आने के लिए क्योंकि गोलकीपर सेशन सिर्फ यानिके के साथ था जो चीज की हमें रिक्वायरमेंट होती थी वो हम उसके साथ करते थे तो डायरेक्ट हम प्लेयर्स के साथ हमें भी क्योंकि बिल्कुल आप सही बोल रहे हो कि कंटिन्यू अगर आपने 3-4 मंथ्स किट नहीं पहना है और प्लेयर्स का अलग रिदम होता है और गोलकीपर्स का अलग होता है तो इसीलिए हमने उस चीज का बोला था कि हमें स्लोली स्टार्ट करना है तो गोलकीपर सेशन में हम फर्स्ट 2 वीक सिर्फ सेशन होते थे बट बेसिक स्किल होता था उसके बाद में हमारा जैसे कि लोड बढ़ता गया और उसके बाद में प्लेयर्स के साथ ज्यादा सेशन हुए.
So all the young goalkeepers listening in, take it slow, momentum ज़्यादा बढ़ाओ मत जल्दी से आराम से start करो अपने skill पे ध्यान दो. Yeah. So going back to Graham, if I can bring you in here, you know, fitness has been a priority for the Indian team. We've seen them at their best fitness. I know during the Pro League earlier this year, they were at optimal fitness. They were clocking the best in yo-yo scores. Tell us about what you have done, you know, to get back to that kind of rhythm. What is the daily schedule like, you know, for the teams right now?
Yeah, it was quite a difficult period for us, to be honest, especially when we were not able to get out of our rooms for a little while there at different stages. There were lots of different stages during lockdown, and then and so since we've been back, we've really tried to use the sporting activities as the fitness vehicle rather than running on the roads or running around the park or whatever, because that's what the boys have been doing for the last 4 months, you know. So for us, it was about trying to get fitness involved in the sporting activities. And you know, you can be very creative with the things that you can do, still using the social distancing and the smaller groups and what have you. Remembering that when you are in smaller groups, the work rate ends up being higher. So that fitness can be increased using that. I would say to the coaches out there, it will definitely be up to you and what has been happening in your own area / world for the last 4 or 5 months. And I know there are some places that have been able to do more things than other places, and depending on the local requirements. So, you know, I think the first thing is to work out where your players are at and what sort of things they have been doing, because if, you know, that was the thing with our players. The last thing that they really would have responded to is more running on the road or more running around the pitch or what have you. So we've been sort of using outside gym work, but also using the sporting activities to increase that fitness. And then as hopefully things will open up over the next 4 or 5 weeks, then we plan on as soon as we are able to getting back to sort of full training and to then I've talked before about it, but the internal matches are really important, and or of course international competition where possible, but at the moment that's sort of seems to be a little way in the distance, and we can't control that yet.
Yeah, I think there are a couple of questions on that, but I'll come back to that later. But if I can bring Short in now, you know, if you could tell us the kind of challenges a player or coaches typically face, you know, when they restart activities after such a long gap. You know, what are the specific areas they need to pay attention to when they begin activities? You know, this, if you can keep in mind the youngsters who will probably be watching this show, you know.
Yeah, I can imagine. Like, it's what I just said. I think the most important thing is that you are patient, that you have patience. I think that is the most important thing. But I already mentioned. If I can mention one other thing, it's be happy what you can do. So we all wanted to play matches, international matches, internal matches, training matches, but yeah, it's the things what are not possible you can dream about, but be happy what you can do. And I think that's what we spoke with the girls about. We are in a safe environment. If that's also for the kids, be happy with that, and be happy if you already can pass to each other. Improve those small things where you normally don't have time for, your individual skills. All these kind of small things, I think that can work really well on the moment. And that's also what we did with the team. We really could pay attention on the really small details, and the higher the level is, the smaller the detail is what you can change. But getting better hitting with the forehand, with the backhand, all those small things, lifting, carrying the ball, focus on these kind of things and be really happy what you already can do. And that's what I saw with my girls, is that when they were outside and they were on the pitch, it was like, finally, it's after so long break, we are so happy we can do what we love to do. And sometimes when you do some things a lot, if you eat every day your favorite food, at the end, it will not be your favorite food anymore. But if you wait a few weeks and you have it again, you're really looking forward to it. And it's the same with hockey. And these times also reminds us, like, okay, why do I do what I do? And it helps us. A long time we were not able to do what we love to do. And I think, please realize that and work on your individual skills.
Absolutely. Work on your individual skills. Shritesh, if I can bring you in here, in these unusual times, tell us how important it is to have a good support system around you, starting from family, it could be teammates, your coaches are always around you, the officials, the federation. How much does these things matter?
It's a big task, man. I mean, seriously, because when you're looking at this scenario, it's all about safety, right? When you know that, okay, your family is safe at one end of the country, you really feel like, okay, it's really happy for me. Okay, I can concentrate on my own business. And when you are in this, in this center, size, and what the facilities, what they are providing is keeping us in a safe environment. That's also giving us more confidence to come out and train a lot. And the way the coaching staff are taking care of us, starting from the lockdown, quarantine time, actually the 14 days quarantine time, we got a schedule to follow. So at least we are there in some kind of physical activity, so that at least when we step back on the field, we are there to start from that, that's a continuous version. And when we started, we didn't start it really fast. We are taking the baby steps now. And at least after 1 month, we gradually getting into the team sessions, we started to talk about the intensity. And, we started to talk about that, what says that it's a international level of hockey. So it's all comes in a teamwork. I can say that even the SAI staff and the mess staff, they are take care of themselves, so that they should not give that virus to us. Even the SAI officials here in the Bangalore Center, they are taking really well care to, keep outsiders outside, so that they blocked all the gates for the SAI Center, so nobody outsiders are coming inside. So this safe environment giving us more comfort or more confidence to go out and train. So that confidence is helping us to to dream big, because that is what all about. Because if you have any kind of mental pressure, mental disturbance, that's made from your family, that's made from your coaching staff, that made from your supporting staff, that made from your those who are working here inside the site, that can affect your performance, that can affect you mentally and physically. So I think this is one of the best place. We are in a safer place. Ashok already mentioned that we are in the safest place. So that atmosphere, that circumstance, that atmosphere is helping us to concentrate on our own business rather than worrying about the virus. It is helping us to focus on our own business, and that comfort zone is helping us to work really free-mindedly.
That's fantastic to hear. Actually, Savi, if you can add to this, you have a support staff, you have Wayne, who is an expert, and आपका fitness बहुत improve हुआ था in these last 2-3 years, और आप लोगों ने एक regime, individual regime भी follow किया lockdown के time में, तो उसके बारे में थोड़ा क्या बता सकते हैं audience को?
हाँ जी, जैसे कि ड्यूरिंग लॉकडाउन टाइम आल्सो कि वेन ने हमें जो प्रोग्राम दिया था वो सबने सबसे अच्छी बात मुझे लगता है कि सबसे अच्छी बात उस टाइम ये थी कि हम ओलंपिक्स के लिए क्वालिफाइड थे, तो हर कोई उस चीज़ के लिए मोटिवेट था, और वेन और बाकी कोचिंग स्टाफ भी हमें उस चीज़ के लिए मोटिवेट करते थे और हर टाइम करते हैं। और सबसे अच्छी बात है कि जब भी हमारा जो भी वर्कआउट हमें दिया जाता था उसके बाद में, चाहे वो एंडोरेंस है, चाहे वो एजिलिटी वर्कआउट है, या फिर वो स्ट्रेंथ सेशन है, तो वो सब ने एक उस तरह से लिया कि ओके हमें एटलीस्ट वी हैव टू मेंटेन आवर फिटनेस, लाइक एवरीवन नोज लाइक लास्ट 2-3 years we improved our fitness and improve our game, and जो भी था कि जितना भी हम कर सकते हैं एटलीस्ट, हमें पता था कि अभी हम हॉकी नहीं खेल सकते और आइडिया भी नहीं था कि कब हम खेलना स्टार्ट करेंगे, तो एटलीस्ट सबने यही डिसाइड किया था कि एटलीस्ट वी हैव टू मेंटेन आवर फिटनेस। और अच्छी बात थी कि सबने बहुत अच्छे से किया, और जब हमारा ट्रेनिंग स्टार्ट हुआ तो वी डिडंट फेस एनी मेजर इंजरी और मे बी बिकॉज ऑफ फिटनेस।
That's great news, Savi. Thanks. Before we wrap up this discussion, we have a couple of questions coming in from the state member unit. First up is from Hockey Bengal. Mr. Bharat Malik has a question for Graham. He wants to know, how are the men's players who are tested positive for COVID doing now? Any setback in their levels of fitness? Are they coping with the rest of the players at par?
Sorry about that. Yeah, good question. I think probably the week and a half ago, they were able to sort of join in with the rest of the group, if you like. We had testing this week, and the testing for them was pretty much along with the rest of the group. So from a point of view of where they're at, I'm reasonably happy. Of course, I think I used my hands to show you sort of, they start 2 or 3 weeks behind, but what tends to happen is they catch up like that. And I would have to suggest that now they're pretty close to the rest of the group. We still have a long way to go, of course, before we get back to our full level of fitness. But I think it's that patience that we need to have.
Is that the advice you would give any other coach, Graham, whoever's watching, if any of their players test positive, what is your message to these?
Yeah, that's definitely, as I said before, I think the most important thing is the health and welfare of the athlete, and sometimes as coaches, we sometimes forget that, and if someone needs to play it in a tournament at a particular time or date, then there are pressures from various sources, and for me it's always been about the health of the athlete. Make sure that they are, if you can, get them tested, understand where they were, understand from them exactly how bad they had it, what were the symptoms, and I'm sure you can get access to the return to play documents that are out there, one by SAI. There are a few floating around.
Right, and there's a question from Shrikant from Hindustan Times. Sure, if you can answer this. He's asking, how much time should there be between getting your sporting activities in peak and then playing matches? And a follow-up question to that is, how hopeful are you that your girls will get the chance soon as you are ready in an advanced stage of activities?
It also depends, of course, on the group, but I think 4 or 5 weeks you really will need to play from going sport activities to playing matches. Sometimes it can take longer, but again, it really depends on your group. For me, it's really difficult to decide. There's not really numbers what is always working, but what we said more or less in this meeting as a summary, it's really about having patience and the eye of the coach, watching your players. how they are doing. Of course, we are doing. We can test. We can see them with GPS and how they every time come back from an activity and how they recover. So I think that's a really important thing. And yeah, of course, we hope as soon as possible to go back to full training matches and playing matches. And but we have to be happy what we can do. And some countries can't do anything yet, so that's how I deal with it. It's just I can't control it, and it is the way it is. Yeah, and so that's the best way to keep a positive mind.
Right. There's a basic question from Taran Singh for the coaches. What should be the size of the batch and a typical duration of training when you start off activities?
Great, Graham, you know what batch is.
Sure.
What is batch?
Yeah, I'm assuming by the batch you meaning the size of the players. Yeah, as in number of players. Yeah.
Okay.
And again, that will depend on what the guidelines are from your local area / state association as far as the size. And again, what tends to happen is the more players you have in a particular activity, the more players, then the harder it, or the longer the duration can be. When you only have sort of, for example, 4 players that in your team or that have turned up for your training or for your sporting activities, then the duration will need to be shorter, of course. So that's sort of just standard coaching, and I think we understand that.
Agree.
Thanks, Graham. Thanks for that answer. Someone's asking which is the better hand sanitizer, alcohol-based hand wash.
Three.
Do you guys want to say what you use?
I think it's pretty simple. Hand wash is much cheaper, of course. So you know, when you're at home, when you're in the bathroom or the kitchen or wherever you are, it's much easier to use hand wash. Proven just as effective. And to be honest, I think it's more the time in which you take. So the alcohol-based one is proven to be very effective as well. It costs a little bit more, and pretty good when you are out and about on the pitch or wherever. So yeah.
Sam Braganza from Gowan's Hockey wants to know how did the coaches or the coaching staff keep the motivation up, and psychology during the lockdown period? How did you motivate the players during the lockdown period?
Personally, I think it's really important that it starts with yourself as a coach. How are you in front of your group? You must give energy to your team, and I think that's really important. So giving the good example, leadership starts with yourself. That's the way I see it. And then it brings your energy over to the team. The other thing what we did is working on mindfulness. This was a perfect period to work on these things because you can immediately use it or practice it in the real life, how to deal with the setbacks, how to deal with lockdown. And for us, the most important thing is that the girls are aware of what there is in their mind and how to deal with it. So I think these things really helped us to be help the girls to stay positive, and also learning to only be worried about what can you control and what can't you control. You let it go. Yeah, and sometimes, like, it's really important. You sometimes may feel sad. Sometimes people think with mindset, you have to be strong. You can't be emotional. That's absolutely not true. Yeah, what is true is that you can that you are aware of your feelings. Yeah, and that you know why they are. And I think that is extremely important. And sometimes when you're sad and you need to cry, you cry. Yeah. But as long as you are aware of this, and that is what mindfulness is, and that's what we can use in later at the Olympics. And I think it's really extremely important because at the level the both teams are playing, it will be about that. But that's my personal opinion. and cope with pressure. For instance, pressure. Yeah, there's always pressure. If you don't like the pressure, you must not play on this level. And it's nice, the pressure. Yeah, there is not such thing as players say. I don't never feel pressure. I think like absolutely a combi. There is pressure, but how do you deal with it? And that's the important thing. And I think that's one of the things we have worked on in this camp.
Right. Shri, there's a question for you from Dinesh Malekar. Which quality goalkeeper kit is best to use for under 14 players?
Any
Any.
kit. They can use any kit because under 14, if they are not playing in a professional way, they can use. They can go for any cheaper kits or any Indian quality kits. Because when you're looking forward for the best case, that is really expensive for that level of kids, so parents might not help them. But I always go with any kit in the. I mean, under 14, under 12, they can buy any kit. But one thing they need to look after is safety, because they need to use that helmet or abdomen guard they used to go for the best quality, so where they get more impact.
Okay, great. Graham, there's a question for you from Jaspreet, Times of India. He wants to know if you guys checked with either the Belgium or the German staff or players how the matches went about this week at the FIH Hockey Pro League. Considering the pandemic is still at large, did you get any?
Yeah. I must admit, I was planning to talk with Shane over the next couple of days just to see how things were from a point of view of how did it all work. What were the procedures that had to be followed? Did they work? Those type of things. So it is a good question, but unfortunately, I don't know the answer just yet. But maybe watch this space. Sounds as though Shri has talked to someone.
Yeah, actually, I'm there in that. Safety committee. So I got some update with that. We do have a procedure. So before the tournament starts, they have to be in a bubble. And before the matches start, 2 days before, they do have a testing. And on the field, they do have a lot of restrictions. They can't, shake hand. They can, that's kind of thing. But anyways, if you are there in a period of 14 days, it's visible that, okay, if you are infected, then definitely you cannot participate in that tournament. And when Janet, the German captain, she put a very, very large information in our FH athletic committee group. She says that if they find out anyone tested positive, then both the team agree to cancel the match, because they don't want to risk other players' health into trouble. So that is what their latest update about this tournament. But as the past two matches which held in Europe, that is quite easy, because there were no overseas team, because Belgium and Germany, it's quite nearby, they can easily travel. But for the overseas players, it is going to be a different rule and regulations, because for us, when we travel to abroad, we need to have a 14 days quarantine, then there will be a lot of testing happens. So that might be a different, an FH Health and Safety Committee will look up to that thing separately, and they will make a different procedure for the next year Pro League and rest of the tournaments.
Thanks for sharing that information with us, Shri, of your conversation with the player. I think we'll wrap it up now. I would like to get some closing remarks from all the four of you. What would your advice, in a very short brief, what would your advice be for the players, coaches, and officials at the state levels involved in the sport when they're restarting activities? What's your advice to them?
I think the problem is Shord's patience is probably the biggest thing. I talked to our players yesterday or last night about, look, our expectations for you were not very high. We had to understand that they've been away for a long time. So try and be positive with them. They haven't forgotten how to trap, or they haven't forgotten. They just need time on the ball to be able to get that touch back. And I think as a coach, we just need to allow them time to do that. but also understand that for me, following whatever procedures the local authorities are telling us that we have to do is the best way to ensure that we get back to full normal life as quickly as possible. And I think that's what we're all chasing.
Right, Sean?
Yeah, I think what really important is create your own bubble as a player, as a coach. I've now in the Netherlands, the competition has begun 3-4 weeks ago, and I'm hearing a lot of stories there. You have to stay disciplined. So teams are playing, they're getting tested, but they create their own bubbles. The teams, the players individual. Most of them are students with other students at home. They go again to someone else. And these kind of things, yeah, you can't afford yourself. The moment you're not keeping that distance and you get sick, you can affect a lot of people, of course. I don't have to tell you about this. So that is really important. Going back to a tournament or whatever, it's really good, but it doesn't mean it's back to normal.
Right. Savi, आप कुछ कहना चाहते हैं? Advice for young players?
यही है कि स्टार्ट विद ग्रेजुअली और ज़्यादा जल्दी मत करें, और दूसरा कि जो भी है कि काफ़ी टाइम से अगर हॉकी नहीं खेला है, इट्स ओके कि अगर फिटनेस अच्छा किया है, फिर भी फिटनेस और हॉकी फील्ड दोनों अलग है, तो जो भी है बिफोर मैच, बिफोर ट्रेनिंग अच्छे से वार्म अप करें और स्ट्रेचिंग करें, और उसके बाद कूल डाउन भी अच्छे से करें, क्योंकि स्टार्टिंग में ये होता है कि इतना टाइम अगर हॉकी नहीं खेला है तो आज ही सब कुछ कर दूँ, ऐसा सोच के ना जाएं, तो एटलीस्ट स्लोली स्टार्ट करें.
Great. Shri?
For me, it's like freedom is responsibility. आप लोगों को हॉकी खेलना है तो आपको ये SOP फॉलो करना ही है. अदरवाइज कई दिन जैसे आपको पता है कि इन्फेक्शन हो गया, then definitely everything is stop, सब कुछ वापस से बंद. So आप अपना ध्यान रखना. Especially you need to take care of yourself first. You need to take care of your teammates. So use the sanitizer, use a mask. Even you try to wear the mask, that's not an issue, because गांव में आपको पता है कि सब घर जाके वापस आ रहे हैं, so you are meeting a lot of outsiders, so you can't be in a bubble. So it's your responsibility to keep yourself safe and सैनिटाइजर, वॉश योर हैंड. जैसे बाहर जाके खेल के आते हो, कपड़ा धोने के लिए भूलना मत, डेफिनेटली सुखाना मत. एंड सेकंड चीज है कि घर के बाहर ही नहा के अंदर चले जाओ, दैट विल बी ग्रेट थिंग. सो कीप योरसेल्फ सेफ इज मोस्ट इंपोर्टेंट थिंग. एज एवरीवन मेंशन्ड, यू नीड टू स्टार्ट इट स्लो, बिकॉज एक दिन में कुछ बदलने वाले नहीं है. सो डेफिनेटली स्टेप बाय स्टेप यू स्टार्ट योर ट्रेनिंग, बट सेफ्टी इज मोर इंपोर्टेंट गाइस. सो जस्ट टेक योरसेल्फ big care.
Great. Thank you. Thanks a lot, guys. A lot of good advice and valuable tips to all the young players, coaches, whoever is going to be watching this. A lot of takeaways from this conversation for them. Start slow, be patient, follow all the protocols. The Hockey India SOP is available on the Hockey India website. It's available for everyone to go through. So please take a look at that. And I wish everyone who are restarting their activities all the very best. And thank you for joining in today. Thanks, Graham, Shord, Savi, and Shrijesh for spending an hour with us, giving us all the good updates. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
All the best, everyone.
Happy weekend.